We all know a lot of people suffer from mental health issues, but what if we did not have the resources that are available today? In the late 1800s, family members would send their loved ones to these institutions to get the help that they needed, but in most cases, these places did more damage than good. According to Alicia R. Norwood, Nellie Bly was a patient and was here to expose the abuse within the system. She became a star journalist and paved the way for change in institutions. To give a little background, I myself have struggled with mental health issues in the past and have had to put my trust in doctors, therapists, and staff to get the treatment that I needed. This is why I've always been interested in researching mental health and mental health history. With that being said, I would like to talk a little bit about Nellie Bly and her life. She didn't always have an easy life. When she was just 6 years old, her father passed away, leaving behind her family and a mill to run. They sadly could not afford to do so, so they had to relocate. Later in life, Nellie tried to get an education, but sadly had to withdraw due to financial issues. She then tried to find work, but of course was unlucky compared to her less uneducated brothers. One day, she stumbled upon an article in the Pittsburgh Dispatch that criticized women in the workplace. She responded back stating that there should be more opportunities for women, and especially women who are providing for their households. She got a job, but had no creative freedom and was only allowed to write about women's activities and hobbies. She took her chances and approached the New York World paper, where she pitched an assignment where she would talk about what it's like to be an immigrant in America. They declined this, but offered her a different assignment, to become a patient at Blackwell's Island. The first step to doing this was creating a fake name and story. Her new name was Nellie Brown, and she was a Cuban immigrant who suffered from amnesia. She moved into a boarding house where there'd be lots of people around to witness her insanity. She spoke crazy, dressed crazy, and stood outside day and night screaming obscenely, and it wasn't long until the cops were called on her. She then convinced a judge and police officers that she truly did suffer from amnesia and got her ticket to Blackwell's Island. Upon arrival, Nellie noticed that a lot of the women were in the same boat as her. They did not suffer from any mental issues. One woman even stated the doctor kept repeating questions over and over again until they confused her. It came to light a lot of these women were actually immigrants and English was not their first language. They would get in trouble with law enforcement, and doctors and judges would just assume that they were suffering from mental issues. In addition to that, Barbara Ranzani said that people would come and watch mental patients as a form of entertainment, like zoo animals or circus production. There were no rules in these places. There were cruel and unusual punishments, and staff would give patients cold showers and force them to sit in their wet clothes until they got sick. There was no fresh water, and what little food there was usually spoiled or rotten. Nellie only lasted 10 days before she got picked up. Soon after that, she published her expose, 10 Days in a Madhouse. It gained popularity immediately, and it wasn't long before there was an investigation into Blackwell's Island. But of course, they tried to cover their tracks. They cleaned the place of any abuse and transferred any patient Nellie spoke to or sent them back out onto the street where they could not find them. Of course, the government still sided with Bly, and they proposed a bill that offered Blackwell's Island $1 million in funds. They got new resources, fired abusive staff, and hired translators so that there wouldn't be a language barrier, and every patient that was there was actually supposed to be there. This was not the end of Nellie's career. She always wanted to stick up for people and exposed corruption in the state legislative and talked about how babies were being sold on the black market. Later in life, she was inspired by one of her favorite books, Around the World in 80 Days, written by Jules Verne. She decided that she would also take on this task and actually did it in under 80 days. Nellie got married and retired from journalism, but when her husband died, she became a successful businesswoman. She actually inherited both of his companies. All in all, Nellie changed public view on mental health care and mental patients. The crowd usually finally had pity and compassion towards these people. Now, in the beginning I asked you, what would you do if you were sent to one of these places? To be blunt, a lot of us would just be stuck there suffering and waiting for someone like Nellie to come along and expose the abuse within these systems. Now I want to ask you another question. Do we have the resources available today to everyone? According to the Children's Health Society, impoverished families usually do not have the access to mental health resources that other families do, whether it be that treatment is too expensive to finish, or the facilities are just too far away and it's not feasible for travel. Now I ask you this, how do we do more? We need people like Nellie to be proactive and get everyone affordable mental health care. It shouldn't just be based on how much money we have. It's something everyone deserves.